All right, everyone, let's trash talk tires today. Every year, Ontario generates 12 million tires. These non-compressible tires, which generate more heat than coal, pose many problems, such as 1, landfill accumulation because of its non-biodegradable nature, 2, increased risk of tire fires, generating smoke and toxins that pollute our air and soil, and 3, adding to our global shortage of natural rubber. And finally, the end-of-life applications of tires are currently limited. Finding solutions to the tire problem, however, is a profitable industry. The tires recycling market was valued at $4.7 billion in 2019 and set to grow to $6 billion by 2027 at a compound annual growth rate of 5%. However, under the current process, recycled tire products have limited applications. 44% of tires are processed into rubber crumb, generating an excess supply. Their applications are quite niche, which leave an untapped gold mine of unused rubber crumb. There needs to be a growing, profitable, and sustainable solution to bolster this underutilized asset. Now I'll pass it off to Anusha to discuss where our product fits in.
Thanks, Irene. So currently, the rubber life cycle has a beginning and an end. The rubber gets molded into a tire, which then gets turned into rubber aggregates, which then ends up as filler material or burned for fuel. RubberCycle aims to close that loop. Inspired by Brooks technology, we plan to extract the valuable rubber within the tire crumb into an oil form that can be repurposed for a variety of downstream rubber products, which are in high demand, such as tubing, gaskets, and consumer products. This is the ultimate form of recycling, where the rubber can be reused over and over again. Our customers are manufacturers interested in sustainable products to incorporate our green material into their product lines. We differentiate ourselves from our competitors by having a green process and a chemical reaction that can occur at room temperature. Our process also allows recovery of the original material, unlike our competitors who largely only repurpose the rubber. Additionally, our product can be used to produce a variety of rubber applications rather than typical rubber crumb, solving a large problem currently facing the industry. I'll pass it off to Matt to talk about our get-to-market strategy.
Thanks, Anusha. So what still needs to be done? Well, Dr. Brook has been able to demonstrate this reaction as a proof of concept. We will need to further refine the technology to process rubber crumb in the tons. We will also have to establish a materials transfer agreement with the group as well. Next, we will apply for tire processing status by the Resource Productivity and Recovery Authority, the RPRA, which will allow us to access their network, allowing us to source rubber crumb. Next, we'll secure manufacturing and processing locations in Brampton, as it is central to many of these tire crumb processing facilities. This will cut down on costs for transportation of feedstock. We have also reached out to the tire crumb processors CRM and Intera, and they have agreed to source their tire crumb for 17 cents to the pound. Finally, we'll establish one committed contract in the rubber tubing industry, such as Aero Rubber Co. and PPD RubTech, which will also leverage the RPRA's connections for additional partner contracts. We will also reach out to other tire crumb processors within Ontario, as well as expand to international locations. I will now hand it off to Ryan to talk about finances.
Thanks, Matt. So to do this, we need your help. We will need $1.1 million to fund the purchasing of land, licensing and patents, and regulatory approvals from the Government of Canada and RPRA. And from you, we are asking for $550,000 for 10% equity. That way, we can ensure that the tire fire of the recycling industry becomes cleaner and greener. Even with the $1.1 million initial investment, we are projecting $100,000 profit in year 1, $289,000 profit in year 3, and $440,000 profit in year 5. This is based off an initial sales volume of 1,000 tons with a growth rate of 5% annually. And using industry discount, tax, and CCA rates, we stand to break even by year 5 with a $129,000 net present value. All this goes to show that the high demand and low startup costs relative to the industry represent a financially and environmentally sustainable business model that will give us first mover status in the industry. So here's our team. I'll be directing business and strategy, Anusha behind the engineering, Irene behind regulatory affairs, and Matt will be directing our partnerships. We've also consulted our technology advisors, Dr. Brook, Shabir from Emterra, RPR staff to handle regulations, and Christine Wang, our supply chain advisor. In essence, we are all tired of the large waste produced in the rubber industry and are excited to innovate and go wheels up with RubberCycle. Thank you all for listening. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, RubberCycle. And I totally enjoyed those tire puns. Thank you for that. Okay, over to you,
I was
Jessica.
waiting for the rubber meets the road or something.
Oh, he's Stole it from me, Lisa. Good job.
You have
All
to go first now, Lisa.
I did last time. I feel like I'm always jumping the gun. If one of you has one, you can, but I do have a question.
I have one as well. Can you just tell me more about your customers and have you talked to any?
Hi, yeah, so that's a very great question. We did have some candidate manufacturers in mind in the beginning. For example, the medical glove industry was in a shortage, especially with the COVID. And then there were also rubber gaskets and tire tubings, which my colleague Matthew can jump in with Aeroflux. And although we have not been in discussion with them directly, we are mostly on. We have had discussions with more of the supply chain in terms of getting the rubber crumb material and ensuring that there was a market there for repurposing this, and then as well as confirming that it is underutilized, the set. And I guess if it doesn't answer the question very well, it would be tubing used in the medical industry, in the automotive, and a variety of like construction industries, as well as tubings are actually the second most used application of rubber after tires.
Okay, thanks.
Before you go too far down the medical road, I mean, as soon as you're getting into something called a medical device, you've got a whole other path to go down. I would say leave that one to the end. Try for something a little bit more consumer. My understanding is that you're taking the crumbs and that's when you're going to add your technology. So you're going to be adding your technology to the end of the current supply chain. I wondered if there was a way that you could take it from the tire itself and sort of eliminate one actual step, because I feel like that's going to add more cost to your baseline. I don't know if you gave that any thought.
Yeah, so if I understand the question, you're asking that we take the tire directly and then process it to get the rubber from the tire without having to go through a crumb manufacturer?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that would be one less.
Right. So a tire is made out of different components: fibers, steel, rubber. And by the time when we buy rubber crumb, we are essentially buying very tiny granules of essentially rubber and carbon black. If we were to take a full tire, we would then have to set up manufacturing and infrastructure in order to take the tire, strip the fibers out, strip the steel out, and essentially make crumb rubber on our own. In terms of the reaction, we would get better efficiency the smaller the particles, just because we can leach out that rubber a lot quicker than essentially dumping tires into larger vats of chemicals to process it. And finally, Ontario has we've discovered that Ontario has a very robust infrastructure system in place in order to take tires and process tire crumb. The thing that's kind of inhibiting that supply chain is that we have an excess of tire crumb that's going nowhere except in asphalting in the roads or just burning for low-cost fuel. So we plan on actually exploiting that already robust infrastructure in place in order to drive down the cost of producing our recycled rubber.
Okay, you've hit it there by saying that you've already identified there's an excess availability of the tire crumb. I think that makes it, that really helps your argument. So thank you.
Alex, did you have a question? You good? Okay, sorry.